All right, welcome back. We are going to do the second half of our video now of pastry cream versus creme anglaise. So we went ahead, we cleaned up. Our pastry cream is, again, in the walk-in. It's got plastic on it. It's going to chill down until we need it. So we're going to switch gears and we're going to do our creme anglaise, also known as like a custard base or an ice cream base. So our setup here looks real familiar. It's going to be not repetitive because there are differences, but there's a lot of similarities between these two, and that's actually one reason why students sometimes get confused in their mind the technique between a pastry cream and creme anglaise because they are so similar. So what we've got here is we have milk, whole milk, and heavy cream. So that's where our fat's coming from. Ice cream, it's very, very rich, a lot of fat to it. And I've scraped a half of a fresh vanilla bean into this because we're going to make a vanilla creme anglaise base because I'm going to spin this up and make ice cream later. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the bowl. And again, we want to make sure we don't burn this, so I'm not going to go real aggressive, real high on this, no more than medium. And for this, we're not going to use a whisk. We're going to use a heat-resistant silicone stirrer thingy here. So just make sure I don't have any of that valuable vanilla bean in the bottom there. So that's pretty good. Don't really have to worry about stirring this quite yet because, again, I haven't put any sugar in here. It's just 50% whole milk, 50% heavy cream, and then half a vanilla bean. I will maybe just give it a little bit of a stir just to get that vanilla distributed, and what's going to happen is we're basically steeping the vanilla bean in there. And as you know, what I did with the shell of that bean, that I'm sure you do at home as well, and we also do in the pastry kitchen, is I threw it in my sugar bin. So I'm actually going to give my sugar that I use in other applications a little bit of a vanilla background to it. There's no reason to throw that thing away. So if this is half of our creme anglaise base here, again, milk, heavy cream, vanilla. The other half that we're going to put together here, again, for more richness, is I have plenty of egg yolks. We used a lot of egg yolks today, a lot of eggs today. And then an equal amount of sugar. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw my sugar in here just to take care of it. And again, just like I was talking with the pastry cream, I'm not going to go ahead and whisk in my egg yolks straight into the sugar and just let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes while our milk's coming up to temperature, because it's going to tend to dry out, crust up a little bit, and it just makes it harder to combine. So best practice is to go ahead and whisk this in just as our milk's coming up to temperature, our milk and cream is coming up to temperature. Another thing that's a little bit different here with our creme anglaise is when I do whisk those egg yolks into the sugar, I'm going to do it fairly gently. I'm not going to try to incorporate a lot of air into it. I just want to dissolve it together, incorporate it together, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing with tempering the eggs with the hot milk and cream mixture. We don't want scrambled eggs. Again, gentle heat. So we will check this out, make some ice cream base. Something we're doing with the creme anglaise base that we also did with the pastry cream is we go ahead and we put it in the fridge for several hours before we try to spin ice cream with it. Ice cream machines, whether they're electric, whether you've got one of the home models that's the frozen cylinder, you need the base to be absolutely ice cold. If you put in even room temperature ice cream base, it's not going to incorporate the correct amount of air into it, and you're going to have kind of a flat volume that doesn't have enough runoff into it. If you have too much air, which is actually against the law when you commercially produce ice cream, that's called overrun, is how much extra air you get. So ice cream is interesting, is sold by the half gallon or gallon as opposed to weight, because if you put so much air into it, air is cheap, cream, milk, sugar, eggs are expensive. The more air they can put into it, the less their material cost is or their food cost is, the more money they make. That's one of the reasons why the government has regulation on how much air you can have in an ice cream. Turn my heat down just a little bit. Again, don't want to scorch this. Rather take a little bit longer than shorter and have to start over. One other thing that's a little bit different between pastry cream and creme anglaise is where in pastry cream we went 2 full minutes to fully cook the starch and the cornstarch, to fully hydrate that. We're actually going to use our instant read thermometer, and we're going to bring this up to 180 degrees and make sure we've fully cooked the egg protein, that we don't have any bacteria or anything in there that would be a problem. Because what do we do with ice cream? We freeze it and we eat it cold. It's not like we're going to cook it again. So we have to make sure that we're using eggs, that we bring it up to the proper temperature. So that's why we have our thermometer here. Go ahead and set this out just so I don't forget it. I don't have any sugar in my milk and my cream here, but that extra fat in the heavy cream is what will prevent this from curdling when I actually bring it up to just a bare boil. Again, got to make sure you're using the proper heat-resistant spatulas here. We do have both kinds in the culinary kitchen, so make sure you're grabbing the right one. Smell that vanilla. And then, that's a sign of a good ice cream versus, an imitation ice cream or a budget ice cream, is if I stop stirring here, you can see all those little flecks, all those little seeds of the vanilla bean floating in there. And that's something you definitely see, you eat with your eyes, you're looking at that when you buy some premium ice cream and you go ahead and eat that, you can see that it's a vanilla ice cream. It's got some real vanilla flake in it. Almost there. I can hear, as I'm stirring it, I can hear the milk coming up the sides and kind of sizzling a little bit, so I know we're getting close to temperature. So since that is getting close to temperature, I'm going to go ahead, grab my whisk. Again, I have a damp towel here to keep the bowl from spinning on me, and I'm going to put in my egg yolk. Go ahead and again, gently whisking this in. I don't want to get a lot of air in this. When you're working in a pastry kitchen, in a hot kitchen, you do have to multitask. So I'm stirring in this, and I'm also keeping an eye on my milk, and I can see it's just starting to skin up a little bit. So I'm going to stir it again. It's almost to a boil. So my timing was pretty good. I've got my eggs just barely coming together here. They're not going to crust over or dry out, and my milk's almost ready to be used to temper in to the eggs. I'm scraping the bottom a little bit. Make sure I bring in that sugar so I don't have undissolved sugar in the bottom here. We're almost there. As this continues to come up to temperature, you can smell the vanilla more and more and more. Most flavor compounds, most of those smells are heat activated. So we're almost there. Turn my heat down just a tiny bit so I don't get any scorching on the sides. See, my vanilla is trying to stick on here, so I'll make sure I scrape this down before we finish. Let it sit for a second just to see how we're doing. Don't see any bubbles, so we'll... If I look here, looks like we've come to a boil. I'm just starting to see some bubbles, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this off. Again, I've got this out of the way. Got my ladle. I'm going to temper my eggs very slowly. Not being real aggressive with the whisk because I don't want to work in a lot of air at this point. That's what the ice cream machine is used for when we're ready to spin up our ice cream. I think I mentioned with the pastry cream that I usually put about 3 ladles worth. Another rule of thumb you can go by is roughly 1/3 of your liquid. You should put 1/3 of your milk, cream into the egg and then bring it back. Constant motion here. If I just pour this milk on these eggs and let them sit, they're going to scramble. Pastry cream and creme anglaise, I've said it many times, important skills, and they are definitely bases for other things. I can make pistachio ice cream. I can make chocolate pudding. You know, these are things that are very, seem complicated. They're really not. They sell well. They're very elegant type desserts. My viscosity is starting to loosen up here on my egg mixture. I can feel it's much easier for me to work the whisk through. Again, I'm not being real aggressive trying to work in air. I'm just stirring at this point. Stirring my milk and cream a little bit just because it's trying to get a little bit of that skin on there, which is not necessarily that great. And I'll bring it back, put it back on the heat, and we're going to bring it to 180 degrees Fahrenheit. With the pastry cream or the creme anglaise, if you need to use it relatively quickly and you don't have time to put it in the walk-in for several hours or overnight, what you can do is you make an ice bath and put your glass bowl or your container that you've strained it into right into an ice bath to cool it down as quickly as possible. All right, I'm going to take both these out of the way. Sheet and go off camera for a second there. And I'm just going to go ahead and stir this back in. I'll go ahead and turn my heat on very low right now until I bring it all back together. Again, this is still tempering. I'm still slowly adding things together. You can see as the egg yolks are coming back into the pot here, move this out of the way for a second, the color of the custard, the creme anglaise, is starting to change. It's becoming very rich from the egg yolk. Same safety measure we used with the pastry cream. When we're finished, we're going to strain it through a fine sieve before we put it in the walk-in. Like to see here, all this vanilla fleck, we're going to make sure we're going to scrape all that in. Vanilla beans are one of the more expensive ingredients we use in the pastry kitchen, so we don't want to leave any behind if we can help it. You can definitely see there, it's almost got the pastry cream color to it from the egg yolk. See, some of my vanilla bean has tried to kind of clump up there, so I'm just going to try to give it a little smush against the side of the pot, and then also when we go through the sieve, that'll help break it up a little bit too and distribute it. Bring this up to maybe medium-low. This is something else we don't want to burn. It's very rich, a lot of sugar, a lot of egg yolk, a lot of fat. So we don't want this to burn. I'm also don't have to worry quite as much as pastry cream with it coalescing in the corners and burning on you, but I am using the corner of my spatula the back of it here to just once in a while get in those corners. Same kind of motion with the wrist to make sure I don't have anything burned on the bottom. And let's just see where we are temperature-wise. Again, we're going to 180 degrees. We're about 145, 150. So we're getting there. Again, constant stirring here. Any type of custard, pastry cream, creme anglaise, the enemy is letting it sit in the pan without motion. That's when things burn. About 165. The other motion I'm doing here, by keeping it moving, I'm making sure that I have an even temperature. About 172. We're coming up temperature very nicely. Again, don't need to bring this to a boil. You need to bring it to 180 to make sure that everything is sanitary, that you have no issues with your egg. It's also thickening up as it cooks a little bit here. Very, very nice color in this. Nice, rich ice cream base. Let's see how we're doing. 177, almost there. Again, I'm not getting distracted by the thermometer and not stirring, or not getting my corners. I'm also don't put the thing on the bottom there because you're going to get a false reading. I'm actually measuring the liquid. 179, stirring it a little bit so it's going up and down. Almost there. Almost there. Get the sides down so nothing burns. You could use a laser thermometer for this, but the issue is you're going to read the surface temperature, and we're worried about the internal temperature. It doesn't matter to me what the very, very surface of this is, because that's going to be cooler than the bottom. There, we're at 181. Let's go ahead and shut our heat off. Go ahead and stir this a little bit more still, and just make sure I don't have anything, because again, I've got carryover cooking, so if I don't keep stirring this, I could burn the corners, could burn the bottom. Bring this over here, and we're going to slowly pass it through the sieve again. Looks like I have just a little bit of congealed egg in here. That's why, again, we're using the sieve. We don't want that in our end product. You can use this to scrape the bottom. Pull this out and let it drain through. So what I have left here, again, I'm not going to try to just push this through, but I may move it around a little bit. It's a little bit of sugar, a little bit of egg that we don't want necessarily in there. So I'm just very gently picking it up and dropping it. I think that's pretty good. Maybe scrape my bottom a little bit here. And what we have here is a very nice, smooth, rich ice cream base. You can see the flecks of the vanilla in there. Just like our pastry cream, we're going to go through and I'm going to put plastic wrap in direct contact with this to keep any skin from forming. And I'm going to actually refrigerate this overnight before I try to use it. So, in conclusion, we've gone through pastry cream, we've gone through creme anglaise. We've seen that they're very, very similar production styles, production methods, very, very slight differences. Good luck, and we'll see you on the next video.